Guten Tag. Sprechen Sie Scottish? Because that would be proper bra, you can. Anyway, we're back, and obviously this is on hold. You saw what happened last time if you've been following the build. The rear axle was binding up, the universal joint drive couldn't move, it was completely stuck. I have ascertained what it was. Those of you who have been following the build will probably be curious. I've had to order some new parts. A mistake was made in the factory, basically. I won't show everything that was wrong today, or anything to do with it today, because I'm still waiting on the bits to arrive. Once the bits arrive, I can show you graphically what went wrong. So that's what I'll do. Today we're going to focus on a handful of upgrades for the truck. Now normally I would put this in this sort of dedicated, I've got a playlist called upgrades and modifications or something like that, and that's where it would normally go, but because I'm incorporating this into the build, it'll be classed as part of the build series. So what am I modifying? Well, a small amount of upgrades have arrived. First of which, I've ordered these 2 packets of these heavy duty diff lockers from Gmade themselves. I've got one for each axle. Why have I ordered heavy duty diff lockers? I have no doubt that the ones that are included as standard are well up to the task. I'm only running a brush motor, 35 turn, 3 cell. Plenty of power, but not going to be enough to wreck the diffs or anything, or wreck the lock diffs. This was just purely because obviously the rear axle has been, where is the rear axle? Alright, I've sealed it away, that's what it is. But okay, I'll give the front axle has been nice and smooth, but the rear axle was not chained and a little bit grabby, and I don't know what the cause of that is yet. It could be related to this binding on the universal drive, I don't know. But the point is, I actually ordered these before I found out that the universal joint was binding. These are slightly different to the design that's in it at the moment, and they should have slightly higher quality of machining, but slightly more accurate. So I'm hoping these will help to alleviate that slightly rough feeling in the rear axle. They might improve the front as well. They might not, but it's worth a try. They're actually relatively inexpensive. They're about roughly £10 or something. So I'll be fitting the heavy duty diff lockers. Maybe it'll free up the rear axle more, maybe it won't, but it's worth a try, and they'll be longer run anyway. They'll last longer because they're the heavy duty ones. But that's not the important upgrade. The important upgrade that I'm going to do is related to the centre of gravity on this truck. People say that this GS02 Gmade chassis is very, very good, very, very capable, but has a high centre of gravity. Partially because the battery has to sit up on its side, and partially because the motor is quite high mounted as well. It means it has a lot of weight high up, which gives you a high centre of gravity, which is bad on something like this, because if you're doing side hilling and the suspension's to one side, it tends to topple over easier. Now, you can muck around with trying to cut away mounts and change everything and reduce weight high up, which I'm not going to do, or you can add weight low down, which is what I am going to do. Now, you can add weight. I've seen people, this little electronics box that isn't used, the one I was talking about in a previous video, I've seen people put lead wheel weights inside it, like real car lead wheel weights. But I'm not going to do that, because I don't want to just throw weights randomly in there and have them loose in there. It doesn't strike me as being a nice way of doing it. You know, a nice, not professional, but a nicely finished, nicely fitted way of doing something. I just want this. I want this truck more than probably any of my other trucks to be like spot on and a real nice thing to look at and to behold, and knowing that everything's nice in it. And I don't really want to have loose weights in it. So, what am I going to do for low centre of gravity? Well, one thing you may or may not know is that some of the parts on this truck are 100% compatible with axial SCX102 parts. For example, the steering knuckles are 100% compatible. They have the same dimensions, as are the suspension mounts, the shock mounts, but whatever. The point is, axial SCX102 steering knuckles will fit straight on, which means axial SCX102 upgrade steering knuckles will fit straight on, which includes these SSD Pro Aluminium knuckles. Right? Again, as you can see there, it quite clearly says for SCX102. Right? These fit straight on. So Do these give you a lower centre of gravity? Not really. No, they're about the same weight as the plastic ones. But importantly, they have 2 bolt holes in the front. Now, you can't see them just now because they're in the packet, but they've got 2 bolt holes in the front, which allows you to bolt on these wheel weights from SSD. These are brass wheel weights, again, for the SCX-102. What happens there, they bolt onto the knuckles, and they actually are within the wheels. So the wheels here, they're inside it. And some wheels have got a clearance issue, but I'm hoping the wheels on this will be okay. They are pretty, I can't remember the weight in grams, but they're quite hefty for an RC car. They've got some weight to them. These will absolutely add a lot of weight low down to the car. You only need to do them in the front on this car because it has a lot of weight at the front. You've got the motor at the front, sorry, there's more. The servo at the front, the battery at the front. The back of the car is really quite empty, so I don't need to put wheel weights at the back of the car. Centre of gravity is not too bad at the back of the car. But with weights low down and wide, because they're in the wheels, that will definitely help the side hailing ability of this truck, and just basically lower the centre of gravity, increase the performance generally. Obviously, if this was a race car or something, you don't want to be adding weight, but this is different. This is a slow crawler, so yeah, let's just crack on with that then. Now obviously I've got to remove the old gear, includes unbolting these 2 pieces here which hold it in, but I also need to slide out the axle, so I'm going to do the knuckles first, take them off, and unfortunately all the grease has to come out and I've got to re-grease the whole thing. So no point in complaining, let's just do it. So here's the standard diff locker. This is the heavy duty one. They're not lying, it's definitely more heavy duty. It's also, not much, but noticeably, I'll try and say that right, heavier. So that will also slightly increase the weight load down, which is good. This is what I want. But you can definitely notice in person, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, the machining is way better on the other one than it is on the standard one. This one here, the straight edges aren't that straight, the finish isn't that smooth, it's not wonderful. This is a far higher quality product. Much nicer. Not that the camera's showing you because it won't focus. Like for example, the triangle shape, in order to put the gear on, you get the triangle shape there, is way more sharp edged on that than it is on that. So hopefully it does, you know, improve the rear axle specifically, but help the axles run just a little bit smoother. It comes with 3 new bolts, which are the same size as the 3 old ones, so not that it matters much, and you simply use the old bearings. Another difference is that the standard one doesn't actually bolt to this. This sleeves over it, and this is what bolts down. It basically squashes that one into that. You don't use this piece at all with the heavy duty one, you simply just bolt that directly to that. Right, those are the diff lockers in front and rear. Front one feels basically the same. Rear one is impossible to tell because obviously I don't have the universal joint in it at the moment because of the problems I've been hitting. However, if I spin it that way, it's extremely smooth. So at least we know that everything so far is spot on, so that's good. Now on to the knuckles. This is the standard one, this is the SSD Aluminium one. You can see, yep, they're straight swap. You have to use your existing bearings, that's fine obviously. It does come with its own pack of screws, or bolts rather, and sleeves. So you don't need to use the top hats from the old one. I don't really even know if they'll fit, this might be slightly different. But anyway, I'll use the ones that are included, and the bearings pop straight in. You can see here the bolt holes in the front, there to attach the weights, and the weights themselves have got the needed screws included with them. Right, that's the knuckles fitted. They went on like a charm, no fuss whatsoever. They just bolt straight on as if they came in the same kit. Lovely. And these are the weights. Man, these are really hefty. These are really hefty. What's really nice about them is, see, it's got the cutout on the side there to perfectly line up with the outline of the the knuckle there, so it lines up perfectly and it will always sit right. And also, once you plug it on, there's still enough clearance for you to get the hex pin and hex through there. So it's all good. Obviously, bolts come with it, metal onto metal, use a bit of thread lock. There we are then. What a difference. They make a massive difference, these brass weights. The axle feels more than twice what it was. I don't know how the exact maths work. I can't even remember how heavy they are, about 140 grams or something. But it just feels much heavier. It feels twice as heavy, but I don't know if it is or not. But there you are, they're a really nice upgrade. The fit and finish is absolutely spot on. I've got no complaints about it whatsoever. It looks and feels perfect. There's no slop, there's no movement. Steering is still nice and free. The servo's going to have to work harder. It's a good thing I've got a nice hefty servo, 20 kilos, because yeah, you can notice there's a lot more weight behind the knuckles. And as I said, it looks like you can get the pin, the hex pin and the pin in without having to take these off, which is a good thing. I got no complaints. I think they look spot on. Lovely. And obviously you got feels exactly the same for the front. Hopefully the back will feel better than it did. The heavy duty diff lockers, again, they're a better finish than these that came off. Much better. So overall, some good modifications, I would say. And it's nice to do a video that's not going to take me hours and hours to edit, so that's always good too. And as soon as the parts arrive to fix the problem with the rear universal joint, I'll crack on with the build some more. Until then, see you later. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.